Hello, this is George for the Fourth with JewelerWebsites.com. I'm joined by Matthew A. Prosey from the Jeweler Website Advisory Group,
Hello there.
and we're going to be analyzing the TaylorMade Jewelers newly designed website. They've been customers of ours since 2005. This year they got a facelift, and we're going to make some comparisons between what they had previously and what they have now, and also take a look at why we made some of those changes in general.
Okay. We're also going to look at some heat mapping technology, which allows us to test the potential usability of a website before the website goes live, so we can tell whether or not the design is going to be good. And we're going to compare the new site to the old site and the new heat map to the old heat map, and see how things change, and perhaps talk about some reasons for the for why the design came out the way it did.
Okay, hopefully for the better. Now, we're currently looking at the newly designed website. So this is circa 2011 for TaylorMade Jewelers. Uh, you'll see that there is a menu that has different pages, storefront.
You talking about this menu here?
Yes. Also a very prominent storefront photo, which is a very good photo.
Right.
You don't actually see a lot of high quality photos of the storefronts of our jewelry stores.
This is actually very true. Some of the photos that I have seen submitted by jewelry stores are very difficult to see the inside of the store. And in fact, I have to, make a joke and say, what's the most common thing that a jewelry store sells if you're looking at the front window?
What would be that?
A car.
A car.
Yep. Because typically when you are looking at uh, a front window of a jewelry store, the care is not taken to use the right kinds of lenses or from the right angle, the right time of day, the right type of lighting to prevent the shadows. I'm sorry, the reflections of cars or parking lots or whatever else there may be. Now, I happen to know that this photo that we're looking at here from TaylorMade, Chris Taylor, the owner of TaylorMade, he told me that in order to get this photo correct, he did try it several different ways, and ultimately he had to pick a day in town where there was low traffic, because he set up a 6-foot step ladder in the middle of the street in front of the store, and he took the photograph just at I believe it was actually dusk. You usually get better photographs at dusk than you do at dawn, and I believe it was at dusk. And that allowed him to take a photograph where this area of his window was actually transparent rather than reflective. You could see more or less through the door, as well as you can clearly see his window display inside. So he took the extra care to do that. If you wanted to take another approach, you could use a higher quality either film camera or digital camera, but you have to attach a polarized lens in order to filter out the reflection that you would get from any objects around you.
It would not surprise me if that awning or the storefront never changes because he doesn't want to take that photo ever have to worry about that again. In fact, this photo right now comes from the previous version of his website. We're actually going to take a look at that in just a minute, and you'll notice it being used in that context as well.
Okay.
Well, actually, what's impressive also about this photo is that it's from a distance, which means that it is exactly the view I'll see if I'm across the street. Which means I'm not worrying about being so close to the inside of the store where I can't tell the context of the rest of the building. I'm able to see exactly where the awning is, what the front of the door looks like, and then I'm in the right place across the street.
You know what? The same thing applies to somebody who might be in their car looking for the jewelry store and driving down the street and looking from a distance and then being able to identify the store rather than so many local downtown jewelers will provide a photograph too close to the door, and or just kind of an upshot from of their sign or of their window, not really taking the care or realization that people need to know what you look like. Because when you're driving by or walking down the street, you have to find the store as a whole and not necessarily, oh, let's take a close-up shot of the door.
There have also been a number of jewelers who have hidden away from what their storefront looks like. And that doesn't actually help them because therefore no one's ever going to be able to find them.
Right.
They sort of either are embarrassed by what the outside looks like, or they don't like the fact that they're in a strip mall. And these are simply realities that they must face.
Right.
If that's how your business is, then you have to own up to it and just get the traffic.
Yeah, you can't disguise your business. You don't really want to portray yourself as differently online than you really are.
Yeah.
People will be disappointed when they come see you.
You don't want them to feel like they've been cheated, and you also don't want to make yourself look worse for not allowing your customers to see what you look like.
Exactly. All right, so shall we switch over and look at the older designs?
Sure.
Okay. All right, this is the older design, and I'm going to just scroll down to the bottom. I want to see what the copyright says on this, and also kind of give you a feel of what the website is. Okay, so this shows a copyright of 2005,
okay.
And we have this scrolling set of images down at the bottom, and so we have the same photo, and pretty much in the same spot on the website.
Right. In fact, it has a very prominent placing there. It has a prominent placing now because obviously TaylorMade Jewelers is really attempting to brand themselves as a local community jeweler.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to know that this is who they are. Come visit. Yes, they have great service. Yes, they have great products. But really what they're selling on their website is their name and their location.
Okay. Now, I know this was a long time ago, George, but do you have any recollection of the background, or did you maybe review some notes before we recorded this video of why this design, or any specifics about this design?
Well, if you notice, he does have that off-white creamy color to the actual store.
Okay. Here.
So we want to make sure we captured that. He does have also that gray door, so there's a great contrast.
This gray door, matches the side.
Matches the side there.
Right.
As for that slightly 80s rock color that appears up top and to the side.
The background up on the top,
right,
and around the side borders. Okay.
I'm not entirely sure where that came from.
Well, you know what? I do remember from the 2000 through 2005 time frame, a lot of people were using crazy stylistic designs, patchwork of backgrounds that, back when I was programming websites, one of the biggest headaches we always had was trying to create a unique square that would match as a tile.
Well, when it comes to texture, at least it's not part of the body. At least it's towards the side, it's up front, it's not terribly distracting. But we'll have a chance to look at that on the heat map, which will measure what the eyes see.
Okay. Okay, so I just noticed here that the TaylorMade Jewelers logo has the background was slanted behind it, and that actually matches inside of the sign for the store in the photograph.
It also has a very prominent announcement section where it currently mentions the Super Bowl Sunday sale. So you can tell actually this was only a couple of weeks ago, since this is from.
Well, today is February 26, 2011.
Yes.
And this site was only recently, the new site here,
yes,
only recently went live this week, or past 7 days or
yes,
so.
Very recently.
And this is the.
This right here shows a nice warm tone that tells you an announcement. My eyes go right to it, so it obviously is an effective place to have an announcement. He currently is using his website for an announcement.
Well, this new one here.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Since you just said that, I just noticed that the website is thinner.
It is.
So it's been put into a static width,
so that it will be better viewed on multiple size screens without worrying about stretching it or pulling it.
But that also limits you on the amount of real estate you have to put an ad in the side here.
I probably would put it above it then.
Above it, or how about this area up here?
You could utilize this section as well.
Okay.
Depending on what you're trying to accomplish.
All right.
But so he has the announcement section there. Also, he has his menu. Now, his menu is in a very different format than it presently is. Right now, it's one big laundry list of links.
Oh, this old one is one big laundry list of links. Okay.
And right now,
the
if
new
you go
one
to his site, it actually is grouped into different sections. And you'll also see that we made a conscious effort in grouping them in 4s and fewer.
Oh yes, that and I could explain why that is the case. Whenever you have uh, 5 or more links in any list of items, the human eye tends to read the first 2 or 3, jump over a few, and then go down to the last one and work its way back up again. So there's always going to be something in the center that gets missed. So I see that right here there's a more button,
Yes.
or a more link. I'm going to click that and open this up. Alright, so now we have a total of 5 links inside: about us, our services, policies, meet our staff, and what is an RJO jeweler. So the least important of the 4 was collapsed behind that more link, and I assume that if there were additional pages here, they would all just open up.
Yes. And that's actually going to happen because he's obviously going to be adding more pages as the site develops.
Okay.
And he will be adding more jewelry pages. He may be adding more education pages, and he may even be adding more sections.
So we simply had a laundry list, as you can refer to it,
Right.
over here on the side.
I mean, and obviously they are in a specific order of what probably at the time was considered important. It does kind of look like a silhouette of a man wearing a hat. Also, you'll notice that the directions and contact page are on this navigation section here, as opposed
Directions and contact.
right, as opposed to a right-hand side of the website, which his new site has.
Let's see, where is it here? We have contact.
But his store hours are up there, which is not something that are on his.
Well, yes, and perhaps we should talk about why they're there. So I've done some split testing and I've done some analytics tracking for well over a year to find out what is the most valuable types of links to put around your pages. And I find some interesting things one thing that is not part of this website, but if you are trying to find the right phrasing for your online catalog, you simply should call it online catalog and put it into your list of links somewhere, because people will gravitate towards online catalog and it gets clicked a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that I did find that was unusual, split testing one of the other sites I was researching, I decided to do some playing around with what was in the header. And I had the address up there, I had the name of the store, the jewelry store up there, I had the phone number clickable, and then I went to putting the home, the store hours, and the contact up there. And well, actually, I started out with having the home and the contact, and then when I saw the contact was getting a high number of clicks, and I looked at the contact page and said, well, what's on the contact page? Typically, on the contact page, you have a form, you have an address, you have hours. And sometimes this form is a way to get driving directions. So I kind of thought it through and said, well, let me split that up. And I ultimately said, well, I'm going to put the home, the store hours, the contact, and the directions up on the top and see which one is most important. And to my surprise, the store hours always seems to get 14% or more of all clicks from the home page.
Interesting.
And the direction seems to get the least. But the contact also gets a high percentage. I think, don't hold me to this one. I'm absolutely certain about the 14% or higher, but I think the contact is about 7%. Well, should we take a look at the heat maps now?
I think we should.
Should we start out with the heat map for the old site or the new site?
You know what? Let's take a look at what the heat map was for the old site.
Okay.
And hope that it improves for the new site.
All right. Well, here is the old site, and here is the heat map. Now, let me explain what this is.
Okay.
And for everyone watching, how you can go about getting one of these on your own. Navigate yourself over to attentionwizard.com, and you have to sign up for an account there. They do not have a free service anymore, but I think you can get the first 10 heat maps for a penny. But after that, it is a monthly fee of, I think, $29. And by the way, we do not get any commission for making this recommendation, but they are the only site we know of that actually has this technology. They've done a lot of eye tracking research of their own, and they've come up with what they conceive of as a reliable enough type of heat map, so it can give a designer a good idea of what is good and what is bad in the design process, instead of waiting for 3 months of data from analytics. So this is only about 70% correct.
Okay.
But still, when you take a initial design and you run it through the heat map, you can find out if it's going to be profitable for you.
Well, let's actually flat out say, what is this measuring?
This is specifically measuring the first few split seconds, which is this yellow line.
Okay.
The first few split seconds of someone's attention when they land on your website.
So this is a human eye and where it goes when looking at your site.
Right. All right. Now the rest of the green on the screen more or less indicates that those items were read.
The human eye recognized them.
Well, no, actually took the time to, after the first few seconds of running around the screen,
Okay.
then went through and said, okay, this is all interesting enough to read. Now, this one might fall into the category of that 30% that is actually wrong.
Why is that?
Because there's green everywhere.
Well, there's a lot going on.
Well, it's...
In fact, that entire clump of text at the bottom there is all green.
Well, unfortunately, it's not realistic to say that that a person is going to sit here and read every word or even look at the background. I mean, the background on here is even getting some attention, and the reason being, it's got bright spots on it,
and it's so comparatively different than the rest of it.
Right, it calls attention. I mean, I look down here and I can see from my peripheral vision that there's something bright happening up here, and it calls my attention. Hey, come up and look at me. So I think that is what it is pointing out. But let's start from the top. So I'm going to scroll down. Now, by the way, when these heat maps were run, they were run using screenshots from a 1024 by 768 monitor. We're recording this right now on a laptop computer, which has a much shorter dimensions. So I have to scroll down and take the point of view of if we were looking at this from a 1024 by 768, which would be a 17-inch or a 19-inch monitor that's on a desk.
Not uncommon.
Okay. So here we are. We have this big yellow pattern. Let's find the number one. Number one is up here. This
Super
blank, this blank area of the ad.
Because it recognizes a contrasting color from that creamy background.
Okay, we have number one here. Line goes down to one of the moving photographs. Number two.
Realized something was going on down there.
Goes up to number three, which is the sign above the
logo recognition. Good.
Down to number four, back to the bottom. Number five, the eye comes to rest inside underneath the awning of the photograph.
Okay.
Number six goes up and also hits the top of the photograph. Number let's not do that. Number 7 down here. Number 8 back to the photograph again. Number 9 kind of skims across Welcome to TaylorMade Jewelers, which I didn't even see that up here. Oh wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even see that there. So it skims across Welcome to TaylorMade Jewelers. Stops at the top of the maroon block. Sorry for the jittery there. And number 10 comes down here to online jewelry catalog. As I have said before, online catalog is a pretty popular phrase.
It's exactly what it is. There's no guesswork when it comes to that.
Yes, there's no guesswork in what the link is, what the page is going to provide you. It tells you exactly, and therefore it usually gets a lot of conversions or clicks. Number 11 comes back to the month February. And number 12 goes back down to the photo on the bottom. Number 13, the eye comes to rest in the middle of the paragraph of text. Number 14, up to Barnes & Noble Nooks. And number 15, over to the word Antwerp. This is interesting. Antwerp and diamonds. I find a lot of times that the heat map will come to rest on usually the word diamond.
Yeah, that's diamond.
And number 16 goes back across the screen and ends up to rest over here in the center of the text.
And some time after, recognized all these other little blobs of green on this design.
Right. Now, I would think that this is a failure of a design. Yeah. And not necessarily because we're changing it out, but simply...
Well, we let it stay up for quite some time.
Right. But did you have this heat mapping technology 6 years ago?
No, it did not.
eye tracking has been around. Tobii eye tracking has been around, I think, for 100 years. But being able to utilize it on a website has only been cost effective for the past 12 months. The eye tracking was initially created to help with advertising and design of restaurant menus to see how
I
somebody.
can never find anything on a restaurant menu. This experiment has failed.
Well, it was put together for a study of restaurant menus.
All right, we need to bring it back.
Okay, so why I think this is a failure is because it makes the eye go back and forth to drastic measures across the entire screen. Oh, yes, I'm going to look at the bottom. Oh, I'm going to look at the top. Oh, I'm going to look back at the bottom again.
So how do we fix this? Hopefully we fixed it with the new design.
Yes. Let's take a look at it. Let's take a look at the new design again here. And now the heat map is here.
Well, it's much more concentrated.
There's a lot less green.
Yes.
It now indicates.
Does that mean that no one read it? Does that mean green only means that people actually looked at it?
This heat map here is a failure because you don't know where to look.
Mm-hmm. And so, eventually you'll give up.
Eventually you'll give up, and everything seems to be highlighted. Usually the sites that have everything highlighted are ones that just simply have a hero graphic on it, or have a very little text, but usually not many click-throughs or not a lot of traffic to the site. So anything that looks like this usually has a poor traffic conversion. And in fact, TaylorMade was reporting that he didn't see much traffic from his website while he had this up, but it wasn't until recently that he was able to devote some energy towards it. So this heat map here, we have a lot less green, and my interpretation of this is simply that somebody was able to scan, and they were able to skim all the content and probably absorb only what was interesting to them. So in this case, the words TaylorMade Jewelers established in 1984. So they skimmed through that, skimmed through some of the words here. On the side, saw the word Diamond Buyer's Guide, skimmed through a couple of the other words.
In terms of the contrast, because the other site had contrast, but not nearly as severe as basically black and cream. And this, I think, is a success in contrast, because clearly everything was a lot easier to tell where things were. The logo is completely red.
So we start here at TaylorMade Jewelers in the sign in the photograph.
Very good. They know exactly where they're going.
Number 2 actually happens to be in the center of the sign.
And they know who they are.
Number 3 is on the opposite side of the sign.
They're getting closer.
So this indicates that the sign in the photograph is completely red. We drop down to number 4, the bright RJO logo at the bottom. We're going back to the photograph.
This big flop of nothing.
Again, stopping in the photograph. On the other side of the photograph, number 8, we're still in the photograph.
It's a stunning photograph. It works.
We're now looking inside of the window. And number 9, we are finally leaving the photograph and starting to skim through some of the content. Number 10, we are skimming through, and it goes back to simply, and then kind of skims through some words, jumps up, skims through some more words. So that's positions 10, 11, 12, 13,
so
14.
Clearly, they are reading the words to get to
right.
to learn what this is.
Jumped over to the longest of the links on the side. Now, it could be that diamond is one of those recognizable words that calls attention. Could be part of the attention wizard algorithm, or it could have been a design situation because it's the longest link over there. And so that's 15, and then 16 comes right back across and ends up in the center of the content over here. So I think this is much more of a success because you've been able to keep somebody's attention on the photograph. They're more likely to recognize the store. They clearly skimmed the content, and they also took a look at the logo, at the phone number, the links up at the top corner, and some of the other important ones.
Including the footer. I mean, they know exactly who this is and where they're going.
So looking at the heat map, so this is the new heat map and the old heat map.
So you're seeing firsthand what it looks like to go from one site to another, and the effort that is put in the design to make sure that we're not just making it pretty and restructuring it just to give it a new face, but to give it a successful positioning in the eyes of a website viewer.
Right. Now, George, let me ask you: does the team, your design team, do they run heat maps on all of the designs that they're putting together now?
Uh, every design that is approved by the jeweler is given a heat map just to confirm that both the designer likes it and the jeweler likes it. Let's see if the customer will then like it.
Okay.
Basically, it has to have 3 votes.
All right. All right. And then if it is a completely egregious design,
Then we figure out what's wrong with it and try to work around it.
Okay.
A heat map can always be applied to a revisited design. So as long as the customer understands and is receptive to what the technology is referring to, and as long as we keep making videos like this showing people why this is valuable, I think that the technology will help speak for itself.
All right. All right. Now, there are additional remarks that I'd like to make about this design.
And its transition from
Right.
site to site.
Now, when this new site went live, all the content was simply copied over.
It was copied over, but it was reviewed to make sure that it was still accurate.
Okay.
So if there were any designers that were mentioned that were either no longer appropriate, or if phrasing just wasn't as tight as it could have been, I believe that was reviewed.
Okay. Now, I think what we're going to do is we're going to conclude this part of the video, but we're going to pick it up again in a few minutes because we're going to go over how we can change the styles to make this website better. Because I can see some things right away, like maybe the spacing between the words here should be different, and maybe some of the other spacing, and we'll just check out all the pages, and we'll look over the styles. But let's keep this one separated because in the video we have showing the old site to new site, heat map technology, and why the transition was done.
Right.
Let's pick this up again in the next video in the series, and I think we're going to actually have 3 videos because, well, might as well announce it here. TaylorMade decided to go from a really, really old site to a website that not only looks modern, but also has a mobile component.
Right. It actually supports a fully functional mobile website.
Right. So we will go over the mobile website as part 3, perhaps. We'll probably put it up on the screen for the credits. I'm just linking over to the next video in the series. And this is the transition of an old jeweler website to a new jeweler website of design-wise.
Right.
And right, this is Matthew Perosi with the Jeweler Website Advisory Group.
And this is George Lowe, 4th, thejewelerwebsites.com.
And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching.